ഹലോ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, എല്ലാവർക്കും പി എസ് സി സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സ്മാർട്ടിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് റൊമാൻറ്റിക് ലിറ്ററേച്ചറിലെ 50ഓളം MCQ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ്. വരുന്ന കോമ്പറ്റേറ്റീവ് എക്സാംസിന് വേണ്ടി പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നവർക്കായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു റിവിഷൻ ക്ലാസ് ആണ്. നമുക്ക് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസിലേക്ക് കിടക്കാം. ഒന്നാമത്തെ ചോദ്യം, റൊമാൻറ്റിക് പീരിയഡ് ലാസ്റ്റ്. The time period from 1798 to 1850. Next question, the art forms affected by Romanticism were visual art, music and literature. Next question, a romantic rebel against neoclassical literature. Okay. Next question, the figure of speech used by romantics. There are two figure of speech. They are personification and pathetic fallacy. Okay. Once more, romantic period lasts from 1798 to 1850. The art form affected by romanticism is visual arts, music and literature. Romantic rebel against neoclassical literature, and the figure of speech used by romantics are personification and pathetic fallacy. Okay, next question. Romanticism is characterized by 5 I's. They are called imagination, intuition, idealism, inspiration and individuality. A romantic thought that the beauty of nature was a path to spiritual enlightenment. Okay, once more, the romantics characterized by 5 I's. They are imagination, intuition, individual, inspiration and individuality. The other question, the romantic thought that beauty of nature was a path to spiritual enlightenment. Okay, next question, who created the term romantic period? It's by Victorian critics. Romantic age is also known as the age of Wordsworth. It was said by Louis Casimir. Okay, next question, romanticism is mainly connected with love and beauty. Once more, who created the term romantic period? That they are, or it's created by Victorian critics. Romantic age is also known as the age of Wordsworth, and it was said by Louis Casimir. Next question, romanticism is mainly connected with love and beauty. Next question, this author perfected the historical novel, but he always wanted to be known as a poet. He was Sir Walter Scott. He was a perfect historian novel, but he liked to be known as a great poet, and it was Sir Walter Scott. Next question, why is the year of 1837 taken as the closing year of the Romantic period and the beginning of the Victorian age? Because the Queen Victoria, once more, the Queen Victoria succeeded to the throne. Okay, next question. Which romantic poet are called the lake poets? Three of them, the Wordsworth, Coleridge and Southey, were called as lake poets. The younger group of romantic poetry includes, they are also called the second generation poets. They were Lord Byron, P.B. Shelley and John Keats. And the first generation romantic poets include the lake poets known as the Wordsworth, Coleridge and Southey. Okay. Moving to the next question, who defined imitation or imagination? Who defined imagination as a creative power which colors object of sense with the mind's own light? It was said by S.T. Coleridge. Romantic writing is a work of Stephen Bygrave. Stephen Bygrave's work is romantic writing. The romantic age, also known as the age of revolution. Once more, the three questions, who defined the imagination as a creative power which colors object of sense with the mind's own light? It was said by S.C. Coleridge. Romantic writing is a work of Stephen Bygrave. The romantic age, also known as the age of revolution. Next question, who called Wordsworth the egoistical sublime? It was called by John Keats. Okay, who called Wordsworth the egoistical sublime? By John Keats. Which age is considered as the second creative period of English literature? That is the age of Romanticism. Can you guess which age is called the first creative period of English literature? It was the Elizabethan period. Okay, so going to the next question. Romanticism was at its peak from 1800 to 1850. Okay, once more, three questions. Who called Wordsworth as the egoistical sublime? It's John Keats. Who, sorry, which age is considered as the second creative period of English literature? The age of Romanticism. Romantics was at its peak from 1800 to 1850. Next question. Romanticism revived medievalism. Name two great essayists of Romantic period. Hazlitt and Charles Lamb. If they are asking three great essayists, we can add Thomas de Quincey also. Which Romantic poet is considered pantheist? That is William Wordsworth. Okay, once more the three questions. Romanticism revived medievalism. Name two great essayists of Romantic period. Hazlitt and Charles Lamb. Which Romantic poet is considered pantheist? That is William Wordsworth. Next question. What is the meaning of the word pantheism? That is the healing power in nature. Okay. Which Romantic poet coined the term spot of time? That is by William Wordsworth. What movement did Romanticism give rise to? That is transcendentalism. Okay. Once more the three questions. What is the meaning of the word pantheism? Healing power in nature. Which Romantic poet coined the term the spot of time? William Wordsworth. What moment did Romanticism give rise to? That is transcendentalism. Okay, moving to the next question. What is the dark romanticism? It's the subgenre of Romanticism. What is poetry according to Wordsworth? The spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. What did Romantic think were important? Supremacy of imagination, nature, sublime, and myth. Okay. Once more, the three questions. What is the dark romanticism? The subgenre of romantics. What is the poetry according to Wordsworth? The spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. And what did Romantic think more important? Supremacy of imagination, nature, symbolism, and myth are the three things which were important according to Romantics. Okay, next question. Romanticism was a reaction to the Age of Enlightenment and French Revolution. Who, sorry, how children were depicted for the first time by the Romantics. They were present as individuals and often individualized as source of great wisdom than adult. Romantics was a reaction to the Age of Enlightenment and French Revolution. How children were depicted for the first time. They were presented as individuals and often idealized as the source of great wisdom than adult. Okay, next question. What is another style of writing that came out in Romantics? That is the Gothic style. What was the first Gothic novel? By Horace Walpole, The Castle of Otranto. What is idealism? The concept that we can make the world a better place. Okay, once more, three questions. What is the another style of writing that came out of Romantics? That is Gothic. Which was the first Gothic novel? That is Horace Walpole, The Castle of Otranto. What is idealism? The concept that we can make the world a better place. Moving to the next question. What physical phenomena plays a major role in Romanticism? Nature. What did Wordsworth believe the purpose of poetry to be? Not to teach, but rather to give pleasure. What is fragments? It's a typically romantic poetic form. Okay, once more, three questions. What physical phenomena plays a major role in Romanticism? That is nature. What did Wordsworth believe the purpose of poetry? That is not to teach, but rather to give pleasure. What is fragment? It is a typically romantic poetic form. Next question. Who inspired the British romantic writers for their ideals of liberty and freedom. It was by Americans and the French. Okay. Next question. Which poem of Wordsworth considered magnum opus, means the great work of Wordsworth? No doubt the answer is the Prelude. Which work of Coleridge were fragments? Criswell and Kubla Khan were written in fragments. Once more, who inspired the British Romantic writers for their ideals of liberty and freedom? America and France. Which poem of Wordsworth considered the magnum opus? The Prelude. Which work of Coleridge were fragments? The Christabel and Kubla Khan. Okay. Next question. Blake's dictum that Milton was a poet and a true poet and of devil's party without knowing it appears in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. The Prelude of Wordsworth was published in the year 1850. Wordsworth's first published work was the Descriptive Sketches. Once more, Blake dictums that Milton was a true poet and of devil's party without knowing it. It appears in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. The Prelude of Wordsworth was published in the year 1850, and Wordsworth's first published work was Descriptive Sketches. In which character of Biographia Literaria, which was published in 1817, does Coleridge makes a distinction between fancy and imagination? In chapter 13. In which chapter of Biographia Literaria does Coleridge criticize Wordsworth's theory of language? It's in chapter 14. Okay. In chapter 13, in Biographia Literaria, Coleridge makes a distinction between fancy and imagination, and in chapter 14, Coleridge criticized Wordsworth theory of language. Okay. Next question. The lyrical ballads open with dash and ends with the dash. The Rime of Ancient Mariner. Okay. It was by S.G. Coleridge, and the last poem, it ends with the Wordsworth poem lines written by Tintin Abbey. Okay. Who is known as Hellenic script? John Keats. Next question. Who said, I have a smack of Hamlet myself? Coleridge. Okay, so the lyrical ballad opens with the ancient rhyme of Ancient Mariner, and it ends with the lines of the above Tintin Abbey. Then who is known as Hellenic spirit? That is John Keats. Who said, I have a smack of Hamlet myself? That is Coleridge. Next, final three questions. This romantic writer used Elia as for a pseudonym. He was unusual among the romantics in his preference for the city over the country, that is Charles Lamb. Who is the author of The Confession of English Opium Eater? That is Thomas Dickens. Tale for Shakespeare is a work by Charles and Mary Lamb, which was published in 1807. Okay, once more the three questions. This romantic writer used Elia for a pseudonym. He was unusual among the romantics in his preference for the city over the country. Was Charles Lamb, who is the author of Confession of an English Opium Eater. Thomas Dickens. Tales from Shakespeare. Okay, it's a children book. Okay, most of the collections of Shakespeare's plays were summarized and written as a children book, and this work was done by the Charles and the Mary Lamb. In the year it was published in 1807. So thank you for hearing the notes, and if you do like, subscribe our channel and hit the like button. Thank you. Meet soon in the next class.